Ghost of the Deep, the brand new dungeon launched today, and I want to go over all of the roles for the weapons. Now, in all honesty, I actually had a ton of fun with this dungeon. The intro is a little bit kinda but the two boss fights and the overall scenery is honestly really cool in my opinion. And also the armor from the dungeon looks absolutely sick. And just as a little heads up, if you didn't know, the armor actually does work with all the RGB shaders. So if you do throw on photo finish, it looks absolutely amazing. But with the armor being as sick as it is, does that mean the weapons are going to be the same? Well, I hope I can answer all that in today's video for you all. And as always, if you all enjoy learning anything new, consider subscribing and dropping a like. I am on the road to 40,000 subs, so every single bit of support from you all goes a long way, and it is truly appreciated. But first off, I want to take a look at the origin trait, and that is Restoration Ritual. Reviving an ally or defeating combatants with finishes reloads this weapon and readies an emergency reload for the next time this weapon runs out of ammo. So honestly, out of all the origin traits in the game, I think this has potential to be one of the best ones. Being able to get revived just to reload the gun is really, really nice. And also, if you just finish an enemy, it reloads the gun as well. There's a bunch of finisher builds that you can make that's going to pair really well with this origin trait. And on top of that, it does say that it will ready an emergency reload. So say you're in something like a boss fight, you can be sure to get a finisher before you go into it. And now when your magazine is empty, it's going to fully reload it and you can start doing more damage with that fully reloaded gun. And again, this also does still work with reviving allies. I think this has potential to be one of the best origin traits in the game, and I'm excited to start messing around with it. I want to first start off with the grenade launcher, the New Pacific Epitaph. This name alone is already really cool, but what is also really cool is that this is a stasis waveframe grenade launcher, one of the first of its kind, and I think this weapon definitely has some potential. So if we take a look here, you can see in the first column we have Ensemble, Unrelenting, Shot Swap, Lead from Gold, Demolitionist, and Perpetual Motion. Then the second column we have Pugilist, Kill Clip, Harmony, Collective Action, Redirection, and Adrenaline Junkie. Now the unfortunate part of this is that it did not come with Choke Clip or Chain Reaction. I think this would have been a very cool option to have on a stasis grenade launcher, but it still does have some pretty good perks. Waveframe grenade launchers on their own are already really good weapons, especially for ad clear. And in the first column, you have things like Unrelenting if you want to heal up. You also have Lead from Gold to get some more ammo if you're wearing a double special loadout. Demolitionist is also an extremely good perk because you're going to receive even more grenade energy since this is a special weapon getting kills. And then the second column, you also have Pugilist, which is going to work the same way as Demo, but you're going to get melee energy instead. Kill Clip's also a good option because you can constantly reproc it now, and you're always going to have the damage boost since you're always shooting one shot. You're always going to have Kill Clip up. Collective Action is not a terrible perk, and Adrenaline Junkie is also not the worst option, but if you're going for a damage boost, I probably would just take Kill Clip instead. So there's a couple different combos you can go with this. If you want Unrelenting, Kill Clip just for constant healing and more damage, that's good. If you want that double special loadout, definitely take Lead from Gold and maybe something like Kill Clip. If you want to go full ability regen, you can go Demo and Pugilist so you can get all your abilities back, which is really cool. But I think my preferred go-to role for PvE is definitely going to be Demo and Kill Clip. Now for PvP, if you like using these grenade launchers, you don't have a whole bunch in the first column that's going to be crazy. I guess you can make Unrelenting work. Shot Swap, maybe. Demo still be an okay option, and Perpetual Motion is alright. But in the second column, if you can proc Kill Clip, I'm not exactly sure the numbers. Maybe you could potentially get a one-shot even with something like Collective Action, because that is really broken on stasis classes in PvP right now. Harmony could also be pretty fun if you swapped this, then maybe one-shot. I'm not exactly sure. We'll have to do some testing with all that, but it could potentially be a pretty fun option in PvP. I don't think it'll be meta. All right, so now I want to take a look at the Greasy Lug. This is the brand new solar glaive, and it is a rapid fire glaive, which I'm pretty sure we have not seen one of these yet. So it is going to be a brand new archetype. Now I'm not exactly sure if this is going to be the best glaive, but let's take a look at the roles. All right, so let's take a look at the first column. We have Movable Object, Killing Wind, Impulse Amplifier, Disruption Break, Replenishing Aegis, and Lead from Gold. Then the second column, we have Unstoppable Force, Opening Shot, Collective Action, Redirection, Close to Melee, and Incandescent. Now for PvE, this has some okay roles, but I don't think this is going to overtake something like Judgment of Kelgaroth. But you do have things like Movable Object if you do want to play into your Glaive shield. Disruption Break could be a pretty fun option, I guess. I don't think it's going to be the greatest thing, and Lead from Gold is always an okay option to take, just so you can get some more ammo if you are running a double special. Now Replenishing Aegis is also an okay perk as well, but again, it's really going to play into that playstyle of that shield, which I know a lot of people don't like to do with glaives. Now Unstoppable Force is a good option to give you that extra damage when you block. Collective Action could be okay, but I don't think you're going to be taking advantage of this as much as say something like you would the grenade launcher. It does have Close to Melee on it, which is one of the best glaive perks in the game if you're playing around melee damage. And Incandescent is also an okay option, but I would probably never choose to run that over something like Close to Melee. There's some really cool combinations you can do with this. I think it's something like Replenishing Aegis and Unstoppable Force. You're going to constantly refill that ammo over over and over again while you're constantly shooting and getting that extra damage. That could be pretty fun. Lead from gold to always have ammo with pairing with something like close to melee or incandescence, also a pretty good option. Even lead from gold unstoppable force is really good, but again, in my opinion, if you have a judgment Kelgaroth, you should probably just use that instead. Now for PvP, this thing does have some really interesting perks. Things like impulse amplifier to increase that projectile speed is going to be really good, and you also have unstoppable force, which is good in PvP as well, but you also have opening shot. So pair that with impulse amplifier, I imagine you're just going to be able to snipe enemies with this glaive in PvP, which could be really fun. And I think that is where this glaive is supposed to lie, but I'm not exactly sure. It's kind of in a weird spot. If you like glaives for PvP, I would definitely give this one a try. Definitely go for that role. But for PvE, if you have any other glaive that's just kind of already good, I think it will perform pretty much the same as this glaive. Now next up, we're going to have the No Survivors SMG, which is a 750 round per minute solar SMG. 750 round per minutes are some of the best in both PvE and PvP. They did receive a nerf, but I hear they're still pretty good, so this thing is going to be a great contender. So let's take a look at the first column. We have well-rounded, offhand strike, surplus, discord, rangefinder, and demolitionist. In the second column, we have elemental capacitor, pugilist, collective action, target lock, adrenaline junkie, and incandescent. So for PvE in the first column, your main two perks are definitely going to be surplus and demolitionist. The other ones are heavily focused towards PvP, in my opinion. I guess you could make things like discord and offhand strike work for just kind of fun setups for it, but for actual like good utility setups, demo, surplus are going to be your go-to options. But then in the second column, you have things like elemental capacitor that you can kind of make work. Pugilist is a great option. Collective action wouldn't be a terrible option. Target lock isn't the worst. Adrenaline junkie's good, and incandescence also really good. So for PvE, you probably already see where I'm going with this. Demo with pretty much anything in the other column can work, but things like demo incandescent could be really good to replace your callus mini tool. I'm pretty sure the only gun in the game that can get demo incandescent right now is the BXR battler, so having an SMG for PvE will be really good with that. Also, demo adrenaline junkie for a damage boost is nice. Even demo pugilist is a very fun option to have that on a primary weapon, because you're constantly going to be refilling both of your energies every time you get kills. That could be really strong, and in my opinion, I think that will be the role I go for. If not, definitely demo incandescent will be the next best thing. Now for PvP, you have the updated well-rounded, which is pretty good. Offhand strike is a fun option. Surplus, discord is also a really good option, and rangefinder obviously is probably the easiest go-to option. Elemental capacitor in the second column is extremely good. Collective actions not terrible. Target lock is a very good option, and of course you can also make adrenaline junkie work. Now I think for the most consistent role you can go for PvP is definitely going to be rangefinder target lock. This is basically the immortal, just with a not as good origin trait, but it is still going to perform very well. Like I said though, well-rounded is a fun option. Elemental capacitor if you want to get your stats up crazy depending on whatever subclass you're playing. Maybe something like well-rounded and elemental capacitor could go really fun together. But overall, there's a bunch of good combinations for PvP on this weapon, and it is solar, so it would actually go in your second slot, so you can take like a kinetic exotic if you want to. But for me personally, for PvP, I definitely be trying to get that rangefinder target lock roll. And then for our final weapon, we have the Cold Comfort rocket launcher. That is a stasis aggressive frame, so it is a very good frame, and it does do stasis damage, which can play into some really cool builds with your stasis subclass. This does have competition with Apex Predator, but let's take a look at the rolls and see if it can compete. So let's take a look at the first column. We have ensemble, shot swap, impulse amplifier, perpetual motion, envious assassin, and tracking. Then in the second column, we have collective action, bipod, cluster bombs, explosive light, bait and switch, and chill club. So for PvE, you're normally going to be using a rocket for a DPS scenario, so having something like ensemble if you are around your teammates isn't the worst option. And if you have trouble hitting your rockets, taking tracking modules also not the worst, but I think the most interesting one is envious assassin. Now we all know Apex Predator has reconstruction on it, and probably is going to be the better option, but I'm really curious to see how envious assassin does work, and I think it probably will be the best in slot perk for this rocket. Now in the second column, you have things like collective action, which is really good if you are going to be pairing it with a stasis build, since this is a stasis rocket that could get out a bunch of damage. Bipod is an option, but this perk is terrible. I would literally never recommend taking it. Cluster bombs is okay for act clear, but you're not really using a rocket for act clear. Explosive light is a really good option. Bait and switch is a really good option, and chill clips on there. So for PvE, collective action, explosive light, bait and switch, with bait and switch being the highest damage, so I would probably recommend going with that one. You can take something like that in envious assassin. Like I said, ensemble and tracking modules also not the worst option, but basically just get a damage perk in the right column alongside a perk that can reload the gun, track, or just have an overflow magazine, and you are good to go. What's really cool though is you do have to remember the origin trait will ready that emergency reload, so you have something like envious assassin proc and have a finisher launcher, you can be able to shoot out a bunch of rockets, get that immediate reload, and then it's going to shoot another one. So this could potentially see some really high DPS. We'll just have to wait and test it out. Now for PvP, you do have things like Impulse Amplifier and Perpetual Motion. Impulse Amplifier is probably going to be your best bet. Tracking modules are also not terrible, but in the second column, you really don't have too much. Maybe something like Chill Clip could be fun. If your rocket doesn't kill them, you'll just slow them down. Maybe Cluster Realms could also be pretty good. I'm not exactly sure if Bipod even works in PvP, so I imagine it's still probably bad over there too, so I wouldn't recommend taking that either. But overall for PvP, the only real role I'm seeing that I would keep is Impulse Amplifier and Chill Clip, but you probably already have a rocket that can do just as good as this rocket in PvP, and you don't really need to get this for PvP. So overall, these dungeon weapons are pretty cool. I think the most sought after is going to be the Stasis Waveframe Grenade Launcher, just because it's unique. There's nothing else like that in the game. Probably next up is going to be the SMG, then the Rocket Launcher, then the Glaive. The SMG can get some pretty good rolls for PvE and PvP. The Stasis Grenade Launcher also has some pretty decent rolls as well. Unfortunately, it does not have Chain Reaction or Chill Clip. The Rocket seems to have some really cool potential for DPS and PvE. We're just gonna have to wait to see some testing. And the Glaive is honestly just a Glaive. If you have any other Glaive, you can pretty much just use that one. But I think that's going to do it all for me. Let me know what you all are looking out for in the comments below. I'm definitely going to be looking out for that Stasis Grenade Launcher and the SMG. I'm excited to finally have a waveframe that goes in the top slot. I'm sure there's going to be some really cool combinations you can do with that. But regardless of the weapon rolls, of course, be sure to let me know what you think of the dungeon as well. But as always, I really appreciate all the support. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day. Peace.